Okay, the entrepreneur that I interviewed was Craig Hansen, and Craig Hansen's business was part of the telecommunication industry in the late 1990s, early 2000s when that was really taking off. So the first product that he created that generated revenue was when he provided an 800 number with no charge, and that person could have an individual number and then access that number from a different place. So for example, in Canada, it was very highly regulated by the government. So a person in Toronto wanted to call a person in Vancouver, they would have to pay 75 cents a minute. But he was able to find a way where it didn't have to be deregulated. It could be deregulated from the government. And someone in Toronto could call into the computer in Salt Lake City, and it would only cost 25 cents a minute, and then his company got a percentage of that. So the way that he got involved was by, in the very beginning of voice messaging, he knew people and he was part of those companies. He also found programmers all over the world. He saw that only big, massive companies such as AT&T were doing this, and he thought this is a very high need, so let's find a way. So he didn't have very many mentors, but he did read a lot about the industry. He read a lot about entrepreneurship, about becoming better, and he was so determined to do something. Some critical resources were the fact that he went out himself and found programmers all over the world. He found a place north of Tel Aviv, Israel, that was similar to Silicon Valley in San Francisco, and they were some of the top programmers. He hired those people on board. He found people in Boston. He found people in Germany, and he got those programmers on board. So himself might have not been a programmer, but he found people who were. The very first customers were with that 800 number service, that product, and then he used a lot of his own money to then expand. The business was mostly financed through people he knew in the beginning, and then they got called on a mission in 2000, and people from American Express bought a percentage of that company. So the status of the business today, he sold that company for $8 million, and unfortunately, but fortunately, that business is worth $1 billion today. So he just shared with me that he did make a lot of mistakes along the way, but the number one mistake that he made was when he sold that company, he didn't realize how important he was to the company. They turned off a lot of their core people. They came in, all they wanted was money from it. Although that they offered him $18 million, he thought that was great. They had no intent of keeping the company to a strong, valued company. And they just essentially ruined it. Although it grew, they could have developed Skype. They had the opportunities, the programmers, to develop Zoom. They didn't know what they were doing. So his number one thing was don't lose yourself. And just kind of don't sell yourself short. The ultimate keys to success that he shared were you have to be a problem solver. He didn't know much about the technology industry, but he knew people who did. He was willing to go out to go find those people. So find good people that share your vision, but don't pretend you know everything. Utilize your strengths and maximize your weaknesses by finding other people who can counteract those weaknesses. And most three concepts that I was most impressed about this interview was the fact that he shared 100 times over again, you need to have a certain mentality to be an entrepreneur. He also shared it's not easy, but it's exciting, and you find opportunities that you don't find in other fields. So entrepreneurs, yes, it might be hard, and yes, you might wake up and you wonder, are we going to make payroll today? But in the end, if you have that drive, you will be able to. And the third is you're not going to be able to solve all your problems, so find people that do. And it's not a cop-out, but you're going out there, you're connecting with people, you're asking them questions to make the best of your company. And so I just think that in my new venture, I might not know the answers to a lot of things, and that's not going to stop me because I can go and connect with people that will know the answers. And yeah.